Well, hello everybody and welcome to Lunch Break Live, real talk about obesity, food addiction, recovery, and what's really eating you. I am Carrie Dela Cruz, here to say I'm sorry. I don't know why I'm sorry. I just feel compelled to say that, and I'm sorry. I'm sorry I said I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I don't know why did I say I'm sorry? Are you one of those people that's kind of like an over-apologizer? Do you say you're sorry when you really aren't, or when you don't even know why you're sorry, or are you really sorry at all? Or maybe you're an under-apologizer and you never say you're sorry for anything. I don't know. I'm sorry. You know what? Maybe I should start over because maybe this isn't making a lot of sense. I'm not really sure. All right. I tell you what, Jared, you're sorry. I see you here. Yeah, but you have good reason. So let's, totally kidding. Let me back up the truck a little bit. I called the show I'm Sorry because I don't know about you, but I am a recovering over-apologizer, and I know quite a few people who are the same way. But I also know a lot of other people who are under-apologizers, and it occurred to me that there might be something to that. And I kind of think that I'm sorry is a phrase that people use or don't use when they aren't really sure what they want to say or don't want to say. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to throw out some of these very common expressions that people use when they say, I'm sorry. And you tell me if this sounds familiar. I'm sorry for interrupting you. I'm sorry to hear that. I'm sorry you feel that way. I'm sorry to have to tell you this. I'm sorry for the way I behaved. I'm sorry you can't go. Or, I'm sorry you can't go. Same sentence. I'm sorry I cut you off. I'm sorry I cut you off. I'm sorry you're sick. I'm sorry to ask you this. I'm sorry I bumped into you. I'm sorry I ate the last piece. I'm sorry I'm late. I'm sorry, what was that? I'm sorry, but I don't understand. I'm sorry I ever met you. I'm sorry that doesn't look good. So, did you hear a lot of the ways in which the phrase I'm sorry was used there? And do you guys use it in that way ever? Do you, I guess maybe I'll take a poll first. Who here is an over-apologizer and who here is an under-apologizer? Anybody want to render a vote? Let's see. I see some thumbs up coming and some hearts coming across. I see my mama's face popping up all over the place. And I do know that Facebook tends to lag, so I don't always see your responsiveness. All right. Nancy says, in the middle. Okay. Question for you, Nancy. Were you always like this? Would you say that you were a balanced apologizer? Or is this something that over the course of aging, and you know what they say, with age comes wisdom, hopefully. Is this something that has changed for you, or has it always pretty much been that way? Let's see. Over-apologizer. I think I'm an over, but I'm told I'm not enougher. I have to think about that one. Melissa, as ever, you're making me think too hard. All right. So here's what flinging my hair around. Here's what I want to propose. Sorry. Totally kidding. All right. I think that the expression or the phrase I'm sorry is often used as a filibuster or, to fill in a blank space. It's like a default setting. It's something we use instead of or I don't know or or whatever else sometimes. And it can mean a lot of things. But I think that we often get them confused, meaning like we use it, but we don't even really know how we mean it. All right, think about this for a second. Sorry can be used like excuse me. Please forgive me. I feel bad. I want you to feel bad. I don't know what else to say. I'm not sorry. Sorry, not sorry, right? I'm disappointed. My bad. I apologize. I don't want to do that again. I won't do that again. Don't think less of me. I don't want to do this, but I have to. Oh, well. Okay. Any of those ring a bell with you guys? Have you guys used them in that way? All right. Sorry. Oh, you cracked me up, Melissa. Yeah. Sorry for making me think and work too hard on this one. All right. So here's what I'm going to frame. I'm going to give you some scenarios, and I'm going to give an example of how I'm sorry is used, and then ask you to think and dig deeper to see how it applies to you, or if this makes sense. All right. Let's say someone is really sick, and you hear that they're really sick, either they or someone that you guys both know or whatever it is, but you learn that someone is sick. The first thing is like, oh, I'm so sorry. You're so sorry. What? Are you responsible for them being sick? What are you really saying here? And I think this is important. What do you really mean? What are you really saying? Are you really saying, I'm sorry because you're somehow responsible and you're apologizing for the fact that they're sick? What are you really saying? Maybe you're really saying, I'm sorry to hear that. Okay, let's go a little bit deeper. I'm sad to hear that. Maybe that's more what you mean instead of I'm sorry to hear that. I feel bad that they're sick. All right. So do you see what I'm saying? So when you're using the word I'm sorry, or the phrase I'm sorry, and you're saying, oh, I'm sorry you're sick, is that what you really mean, or do you mean something different? It's worth thinking about. All right, here's another one. You know you're going to be late, right? Do you say, sorry I'm late? What are you looking for there? Sorry I'm late. Are you really saying, I apologize for being late? Because you're responsible, like I'm responsible for being late. I'm late, it's my responsibility, so I'm sorry for being late. Or are you late and you really can't do anything about it? You're just late. So maybe you're saying, I'm sorry I'm late because I'm really bummed that I'm late and I feel really bad about the fact that I'm late. But are you apologizing to them for being late? Or are you expressing disappointment that you're late? See, your words, our words, the things that we say really, really matter. And how do we want other people to hear them? And what do we mean by them? Are we hoping they'll mean something we don't mean? You know, this is where the conversation and communication gets very tricky, especially with others. But think about how we're communicating to ourselves. Do we know what we really mean? What do we really mean? Do we want to think we mean something that we don't really mean? Do you know what I mean? All right. So, that's how we talk about I'm late. All right. How about this one? Can you do me a favor? Okay. That's what we're wanting to ask of someone. We're asking them to do us a favor. You know, how often do you say, sorry, but can you help me? Why are you sorry? Are you sorry that you're asking them because you don't think they can really help you? Or what is that all about? All right. Maybe you're really saying, I hate to ask. Okay. Well, if you hate to ask, then don't do it. Don't ask if you hate to ask, right? I don't like to ask for help. Ooh, that might be more to it, right? Sorry to ask you this. Maybe you're really saying, I don't like to ask for help. Or I would hate it if someone asked me to do this. Well, if you'd hate it if someone asked you, then why are you asking them? You should probably think about that for a minute. Maybe you're really saying, would you mind? Excuse me, but would you mind? So you're really not meaning I'm sorry. I'm sorry to ask, but you're really saying, would you mind if? Right? Do you think so? May I ask you a favor? That's fair. So you're not putting anything on this. Are you really sorry for asking them? Then don't ask them. If you're not really sorry for asking them, then what are you really saying? You know? Maybe you are saying, I'm sorry to have to ask you this, but I really have to ask you this. Maybe so. Think about what you're saying when you're saying, I'm sorry. And the question I had as I was kind of writing this out is, where does this all come from? Where does this whole I'm sorry thing come from? Okay, I was talking to my coworker about it, and it's kind of like, all right, where do a lot of the things we say come from? I think they come from our childhood, and we're taught when we're kids. What are some very common things we're taught? Thank you and please. Thank you and please are two little keys that open every door. Say thank you, say thank you, say please, right? We're taught that. Whether we feel it or whether we mean it or whether we understand it or not, we're taught that. Why? Because in our society, that is polite. That's being polite. It's being considerate. It's being thoughtful. So we're taught these things before we even understand the meaning of the things. in the hope that they will become conditioned into us, and we won't even have to think about it. We'll just say thank you without even thinking about it. It was like my coworker said, why do I have to thank someone like let's say they give me change back. I give them a 10, they give me some change, and I say thank you. She goes, why am I thanking them for doing their job? That's kind of weird, isn't it? Well, polite society dictates that I appreciate the fact that you're doing your job, so thank you. Or please, I am asking you for a favor. Please, would you mind doing this, so that you don't feel that I'm ordering you or expecting you to do something. So we're taught these things as kids, before we can even really speak, without fully understanding what they even mean, but we're expected to do them. Now, here's the interesting thing. She was talking to me, my coworker, about her boys, that are, let's say 13 and 11. And one did something to another, and, the brother's like, make him say I'm sorry, make him apologize. And she's like, don't apologize if you don't feel like it. If you don't really mean it, don't apologize. Do not do it. Because she says there's nothing worse than someone going, okay, sorry. Okay, I'm sorry. Are you really? Are you really sorry? And is that any better? And how is that helping anybody? You have to think about what you really mean when you're saying you're sorry. You're really saying, I apologize for my behavior. I'm sorry. I own that. That was not kind of me, thoughtful of me, nice of me. That was disrespectful of me, whatever. But if you're just going, okay, whatever, sorry. I'm really sorry that you're making me say I'm sorry. And that's what you're communicating to the other person, and they're not made whole by any stretch of the imagination. Does that mean you should never apologize? Well, no, because that's your sickness that you're holding on to. If you don't, own your crap. I think a lot of times we struggle to own our crap because we don't know it's crap, or we think everything's crap, and we don't want to have to own everything. So if we're over apologizers, maybe everything's crap and it's just all too much to own. If we're under apologizers, ooh, none of it's crap. We don't stink. We didn't do anything wrong. See what I mean? It's an over swinging of that pendulum. All right. So I think that this whole I'm sorry thing, many of us learn this when our parents are, mom, dad, an adult, someone of authority in our life says, say you're sorry. You say you're sorry right now, whether you want to or not, right? And at some point, especially if you're my daughter, by the way, she's a tough nut, that one. You spit it out to get me off your back, right? Okay, fine. What's it going to take for you to leave me alone? Oh, I understand the rules. So if I say I'm sorry, then you leave me alone. It has nothing to do with whether she's sorry or not. It has to do with getting me off her back. So maybe a lot of us learned that if we say I'm sorry, that will make other people stop bugging us. Just go away, all right? Fine, I'll give you what you want, but doesn't mean I mean it. It just means I'm saying what you want to hear. So there's that. But there's the other part that says, if I say I'm sorry, will you like me better? Will you forgive me? Will you stop bothering me? Will you be kind to me? Will that make everything better? Please? Right? How often, I being an over apologizer, if I knew trouble was coming, if I knew I was going to get a spanking, whatever, yes, I said spanking, okay? It wasn't child abuse, whatever. I'm not getting into that argument, that discussion. There were no timeouts when I was a kid. I was not beaten. I was not abused. I knew the wooden spoon was coming, and that's just the way it is. And I was instantly sorry. Okay, part of me was sorry that I was going to get spanked, okay? It's like, oh man. But it was that instant, oh gosh, please don't spank me. Please don't spank me. Oh, I feel so sorry that I did something wrong that's now going to result in a spanking. See what I mean? So the connection was, I don't want to get in trouble. I don't want my mom and dad to be mad at me. I don't want them to think less of me. So if I say sorry, I'm sorry, then everything will be okay. And maybe if I say it fast enough, I won't get spanked. Isn't that kind of like a natural reaction? When we're kids, it's not having the complete and total understanding of what an apology is really all about. What does it really mean to say, I'm sorry? What does that mean? Ideally, I think it means that I don't want to repeat that mistake again. I don't want to make that error again. I don't want to feel like this again. So I'm going to own my part of it, right? But it's an automatic response for some of us. We don't even think about it anymore. I think it can block reality because it shuts us off from really looking at what we really mean by what we're saying. What are we really feeling in that moment? Are we really feeling like we owe someone an apology for something? Are we really feeling that we were in error? That we did something that requires an apology being issued and we are seeking forgiveness? Or is it an oversight? Is it, oh, you know what? I'm sorry, I didn't think about that. Well, come on, if it was an oversight, why are you sorry? It's not as if you did it intentionally. And I think intention matters here. You know, was it your intention to deceive or to harm or to disappoint or let somebody down or make somebody mad or whatever? Was it intentional? Was it within your grasp, within your realm of influence, your responsibility? Did you make a determination that said, I'm going to knowingly do this thing? Or was it a result of things beyond your control? See, I think it's important to know our motivation in things, because otherwise, just throwing the phrase, I'm sorry, out there can block us off from living fully. It always comes down to this: in recovery, food addiction, obesity, life, whatever it is that's getting us down, because this is the stuff we eat over. We eat over the fact that down inside we aren't really sorry, and yet we're constantly saying we're sorry. We eat over the fact that we can't control someone else's feelings, even when we say sorry. We can't change how they feel about us. We say I'm sorry, but we feel powerless, right, over our lives, and we eat. That eats away at us. We don't say we're sorry because, doggone it, I'm not going to give you the pleasure of having power over me. You're not going to think I'm less than. You're not going to think I'm, weak, or that you can control me. So guess what? I will control the situation and I will not apologize. Those are the things that eat us up because we don't feel good about ourselves. When we don't own our crap and we know it's crap, we don't feel good. And it really is the stuff that we feed. I think that in looking at this idea of being sorry about something, it would be good to consider before you speak what you really, really need to say here based on what you're trying to accomplish, what your role in it is, what is it that, the actual sentiment that you're trying to say. Are you truly repentant? If you say, I'm sorry, is there something to be repentant about? Maybe you're saying, I'm truly repentant for my error and I will work not to repeat it. That's where you issue an apology and an I'm sorry. Because you're truly repentant and you'll work hard not to. It's not something you want to repeat again, maybe, okay? I want to do better next time. That seems reasonable, okay? I didn't know better before, but I do now. All right? So maybe that's softer. Can you be sorry for not knowing something? I'm hard-pressed to believe that you can apologize for not knowing something. But you can say, now that I know better, I will work to do better. But I don't know that that really requires an apology. I want you to know that I recognize my role in this. I'm owning my part of it. And I am sorry that I played a role in whatever negative thing coming out of this, what negative outcome, right? I want you to know that I own my part of it. I own my role. I would like forgiveness. Think about it. Is that something you genuinely want? If you want forgiveness, issue an apology and say you're sorry. If you're looking for someone to like you or not be mad at you, if you're looking to control the situation, if you're not really thinking about what you're thinking about before you speak, I would encourage you not to use the phrase, I'm sorry, unless you really, really are. I would also encourage you to use the phrase, I'm sorry, if you don't tend to use it, because it's freeing to you. This is a poison that we keep in when we don't own our crap, okay? It's also poisonous to us when we're not aware of the damage that we're doing to ourselves by not seeing things clearly for what they are. So I know this might sound a little, I don't know, it's kind of like, Carrie, aren't you kind of getting hung up on the minutia here? Aren't you kind of like making a big deal over nothing? What the heck does this have to do with obesity or food addiction or anything else? Like everything, it's not typically about one thing. It's not any one thing, it's everything, right? And so if this is one of those things that gets stuck in your craw and you don't even think about it, and you're saying, every time I say I'm sorry, I feel less than, I don't feel good about myself. I feel, why do I say that? Well, take a step back and first of all say, what do you really mean here? What do you really want to say? And say what you really mean. Mean what you say what you mean. If you don't mean you're sorry, don't say you're sorry. If you need to apologize, consider doing it. If this isn't an apology at all, but this is you trying to excuse yourself for having to ask for help, consider that as well, because that's really about you and not the other person, right? So just some thoughts for a Wednesday hump day. I thought I would run by you guys. I'll take a look. I see lots of things running by. I'm going to take a look at what you guys are talking about briefly. And my sleeve got hung up there. I've got these bell sleeves. Ooh, isn't that fun? And it's getting hung up on the paperwork over here. It's dragging my whole desk over into my lap. All right. Sorry. No, I'm not. I'm not sorry for my bell sleeves. Pfft, give me a break. All right. Let's see here. Okay, scrolling through. You're sorry, I'm sorry. Yeah, you can't apologize for me being sorry. I think that's just one of the rules here, okay? No apologizing for my apology. It doesn't work. All right. Diane, I am very glad that you are here. And my mom, okay, Mom, love you. Thank you for being so patient and being willing to listen to me on the drive time home when I'm calling you on stuff and, you're hanging in there and realizing that I'm just sharing it in love. I'm not saying you're bad and wrong. But I don't apologize. All right. Let's see here. And Melissa is here and Nancy, whom I already did a shout out to. And let's scroll through. And Cleo, I'm so glad you're here. I now apologize more, Nancy says, as it is considered necessary to begin a conversation that appeases others. Well, that's very interesting. You have to explain that to me a little bit more so I understand what you mean. In other words, are you saying that in order to gain entree, in order to open a conversation, you have to apologize to get permission to speak or to have their attention, or like you said, appease them, ameliorate them, make them feel better about what? So you got to help me understand so I understand that a little bit better. All right. Diane, I used it today in talking to a coworker whose brother-in-law is dying quickly, and I'm so sorry. Are you sorry? Okay. How can you be sorry that he's dying? Are you responsible for his death? That is the question. That exact phrase. Are you sorry? Are you responsible for his death? Is it something you need to apologize about? Do you see what I'm saying? Or is the better phrase, I am sad to hear that. If that's a different phrase, then that's nothing to apologize about, right? And it's more precise, and it may convey the message a lot more accurately. It's just a thought. All right, let's see here. I was going to say someone's here, but I can't say it unless you've said anything to me, so I can't call you out. All right, that's what I meant. Okay, mean what you say and say what you mean, and you don't have to apologize for not saying what you meant. Isn't that nice? All right. To show we're empathetic. Ooh, I love that, Melissa. Maybe we use sorry to show, right, to gain access to that shared emotion, right? The Me Too thing, the Me Too. And I just wonder though, is that healthy? Because, maybe it's not as accurate as it could be. And maybe to be empathetic or empathic, either way, maybe there's a better way to say it that's even more empathetic. That says, I am sad to hear that. I'm sad for you. That breaks my heart to hear that, my friend. I don't like to hear that people are struggling. Now, I do understand this is like semantics. This is so nuanced because in the English language, the word sorry does take on a lot of meanings. Okay, I get it. It can be used interchangeably to mean, I'm sorry to hear that. It's like shorthand. What I'm getting at is, does our misuse of the phrase block us from choosing recovery because we're not really saying what we mean for lots of unhealthy reasons? And then we in turn go off and participate in unhealthy behaviors because we feel that we're being silenced. We feel that we're not being truthful. We feel that we are not being heard or valued or forgiven or any number of other things, right? That's what I'm getting at here. I am not trying to say that the word sorry can't be used lots and lots of different ways. and isn't kind. I'm not saying that at all. I am saying, though, I have learned to take a step back and say, what do I really mean to say here? What do I really want to truthfully say here? And I believe that in doing that, it's healing for me, but I think it's healing for others as well, because those people know exactly what it is that I am intending to say. All right, can't even say it, colloquialism in our society, I think. Yes, Mom, yes, exactly. I guess I just spoke to that, and you're exactly right. Using I'm sorry or sorry seems to be the expected normal beginning to a statement or conversation. Exactly. And I think that this is one of the things my coworker and I talked about. Is it losing its meaning? Is it losing its significance? Kind of like, I love you, right? Oh, I love you, right? I've been saying, I love it all day today. My coworker's like, okay, I'm done, all right? A little too much love for one day. I've had enough love. And I was just explaining to him, there has been so much negativity around here and so many things going wrong and so much bad news that today, just having options, having the possibility of things going well, having things working out, I love the fact that not everything will fail. And so I have been using this phrase, I love it. And in his book, it's like, okay, too much love, and I'm not buying it. Okay, nobody loves anything that much. Do you see? So are we doing damage to this phrase, I'm sorry, so that when it is that we really want to use it, it doesn't mean enough, that it's being, thrown away or dismissed like so many other phrases. It's just a thought. I don't know the answer to this. It's a thought. These are things I'm thinking about. All right. Appeasement, yeah. I used to feel that everything was my fault. Thank you for saying that, Mom. Yes. I think, boy, that resonates with me. Absolutely. I did have to apologize myself. I had to apologize for everything because I thought everything was my fault. Yep. Because I didn't value myself. I didn't believe in myself. I didn't think I was more worthy. And the interesting part of that is, apparently I really thought I had that much control to be at fault for absolutely everything. That's kind of another side to that discussion. That's that selfishness thing that says, can you really be sorry for everything? Because that would mean that you are responsible for everything, and that would mean that you have that much control. Seriously? So, sometimes we have to logic our way out of things to kind of go, oh my gosh, Carrie, I can't believe I ever thought that. Yeah, I can't believe I ever thought that. Anyway, I'm glad you said that, Melissa. Thank you so much. As I close out here, anyone in the Inland Empire support group at 630 Ballard Rehab Hospital in San Bernardino. Absolutely okay. And I so appreciate you doing that. You guys, we do need support. We need support. We need to be with like-minded people who are also working hard. I keep pulling my hair, who are working hard to choose and live their recovery and to address the things that are eating them up so they don't feed them. So absolutely, I love the group that you run, Melissa. I hope one day to be able to get out and speak to you guys as well. So yes, if you are in the area, I would encourage you. You'll have to make sure you let me know how often it is. Is it once a month? I can't remember. On this Wednesday? How does that work? Like the third Wednesday, the second Wednesday, whatever. Let me know. Others expect me to say sorry at the beginning of a conversation. Well, I think that comes down to expectations here. And what would happen if you didn't? Okay? Put it on them, not you, right? I think, what happens if you don't say you're sorry when you're really not sorry? What would happen? It's just a thought. You are welcome, Melissa. So I'm going to leave you there. And thank you as ever for being here. I hope you enjoyed the show today. I know it might sound either crazy or overly simple or something, but not everything about recovery has to be super complicated. Not everything about dealing with and treating our obesity and our food addiction and the things that eat us up has to be a super big, huge deal. It often comes down to little things that we let fly under the radar, that we let slide by because we don't think they're big things. But if you get enough little things eating you up, it's like getting eaten alive by mosquitoes, right? It takes a lot of them to sometimes it only takes one to make you itch and go crazy. But can you imagine you get eaten alive by mosquitoes? That's what I always say. Or get stung by a lot of bees, okay? One little bee sting may be bad enough, right? But talk about a bunch of bee stings. You can't ignore those things. So even if these things seem little, they sting. And they take our attention away from the work of doing better, being better, and choosing recovery. Do you see what I'm saying? Anything that distracts us from focusing on what matters most is definitely what we're going to feed, because we're going to say, shut up, I don't want to think about it. I don't know why I'm so upset. I don't know why I feel this way. I just want to eat. Well, now maybe you do know why you feel this way. Maybe you don't like saying sorry all the time when you really aren't sorry. Or maybe you think you need to reevaluate this and say sorry a little bit more. Who knows? All right. Thank you guys for being here. It has run long as ever, but I want to encourage you all to have courage, seek peace, embrace joy, and above all, live your recovery. Remember, you can't stop feeding what's eating you if you don't know what's eating you. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Take care. Bye.